Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus versus OnePlus 5T full comparison. Net videos coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, back again with another video. This time we're gonna do the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus versus the OnePlus 5T full comparison. I got a few requests on this one, quite a few actually, to compare these guys because they want to know which one to buy. Both of these phones are kind of in the same price range now, the S8 being slightly higher, the S8 Plus here specifically, but you know what? It's come down a lot and you can get them around 600, sometimes around 500 if you find them used on places like Swappa or eBay or even on some apps like Let Go. These applications that allow you to buy stuff secondhand. So these devices are pretty close to the same price point. Now the 5T definitely comes in at a brand new price of a very crazy good deal, $500 or $550, and they have a lot of similarities, but I don't want to go over the specifications, all of them, of both of them on this comparison. Now the S8, what really matters here is that you get 4 gigs of RAM, you do get a Snapdragon 835, you do get Android 7.0 with a guaranteed upgrade to 8.0, but it's just taking some time. You get a curved displays here, 12 megapixel cameras on the rear, fingerprint scanner up top, and you do have a Super AMOLED OLED display, which is basically Samsung's marketing for a very vibrant Samsung display. Over here, you do have yourself an optic AMOLED display from OnePlus, which pretty much has that same OLED vividness, the colors. It just doesn't look quite as vibrant and sharp as the one on the S8. You do get 6 gigs of RAM base on the 5T. You also get 8 gigs of RAM if you want to go up $50. Fingerprint scanner on the rear, dual cameras up top, something the S8 doesn't have. You do have a flat screen, not a curved screen here on this device, and you do get Oxygen OS with Android 7.1.1 Nougat. This one also has a guaranteed update to Android 8.0. Front-facing cameras are both very solid. There's a little higher resolution on the 5T at about 16 megapixels. On the front of the S8, you have 8 megapixels. Those are the specifications that matter. I probably already bored you with too many of them, but let's talk about the hardware and the build quality between both of these. Okay, so let's begin with the S8 Plus when it comes to the hardware and build quality. You've seen this thing time and time again over the year, haven't you? This design is just absolutely stunning on the S8, and it was so good that I think Samsung's going to retain most of the same design language in the upcoming S9. So what that means is that when that S9 comes out and the price on this comes down, you're still going to have a beautiful device at a lower price point than when it launched here for the S8 Plus and S8. So beautiful design here, infinity display on the front, very light, very nice contour in your hand, meaning that it curves and wraps around to the palm, giving you that very light, very comfortable feel in the hand. It's pretty easy to reach across the screen. However, if you do have small hands, it's going to be a little bit hard to reach the top of this display because it's very tall with that 18:9 aspect ratio. However, Samsung has your back with a one-handed mode, something you won't see in the OnePlus 5T. You do see it on some Huawei and Honor phones, but you don't see it there. So overall, in terms of hardware and build quality, very nice stuff. Glass on the rear is a little bit delicate to dropping, so you need a case on the S8, but I've dropped it straight on its back and it still hasn't cracked. Also, the front has Gorilla Glass, so it's pretty scratch prone as well. It won't scratch too easily here on the S8 Plus, so you're good on that front. The sides of it with its shiny metallic sides definitely does get scratched up pretty easily though. So again, beautiful device here, but it definitely needs a case and a screen protector if you can fit one on that infinity display. As for the OnePlus 5T, the 5T is basically standard premium smartphone. What I mean by that is aluminum back here, glass on the front, comes with a perfectly fitted screen protector out of the box, which is pretty awesome to see here. It has that nice OLED display like we talked about earlier. Buttons are tactile. You do get a silent switch, which you don't get on the S8. One thing I do like about the S8 that you don't get on the 5T is that camera. That camera hump right there is pretty sticking out there. So it will hit the table if you put it down. It will rock a little bit because there's a hump on this phone. You can see right there, it's just rocking a little bit. Over here on the S8, there should be no rocks on this phone. Very flat, very sturdy. So that's a little bit of a flaw to me with the 5T. But other than that, no other Android phone really gives you that silent switch. So that's a nice touch here for this device. Nice power button on the right side, right in the perfect spot. You don't have that annoying Bixby button that you have here on the S8 that gets in the way quite a bit, unless you disable it, then it's no problem. The bottom, you do have a headphone jack speaker here, and I forgot to mention the S8 also gives you a headphone jack and speaker on the bottom. So they're very similar on a lot of fronts. In terms of overall build quality, I think the S8 feels a little bit more fancy, a little bit more premium than the 5T, but the 5T definitely feels like iPhone of yesteryear, or even the OnePlus 5, or even the OnePlus 3T. It's got that similar feel in the hand. Sans the 18:9 display, which definitely brings the 5T to the more modern era of design. Okay, so let's talk about their displays. Let's get up close and personal with these two when it comes to display. Now, on the S8 Plus, right, you're gonna get that Super AMOLED panel. I'm not even gonna talk specs when it comes to that. All that means is you have 2K display resolution here. You have a very vibrant display on the S8, and most would agree this is probably the best display of the year. You know, this, the Note 8, the Samsung displays of this year are the best of the year. So you're getting the best of the best here. There's not much more to say. You can do AMOLED Cinema, AMOLED Photo. You can do basic. You can do full screen color balance. You could change the color levels, red, green, blue, however you like the display to look here. You also have some settings in developer options which can put it in gray mode and stuff like that. Now on the 5T, you do also get an optic AMOLED display, which definitely looks plenty vibrant as well. However, it's not quite as tack sharp as the S8's display. So let me go into display settings here, and let's go into the screen calibration. And you could change it between sRGB, DCI-P3, adaptive, and your own custom colors. So in terms of how you can tweak it, you do have the similar abilities. I do like that the OnePlus 5T does have more like natural looking color modes than the S8 Plus. So if you're not into the vibrant stuff, most of the display modes on the S8 still look like a little bit over vibrant, a little bit oversaturated. Whereas the OnePlus 5T's DCI-P3 really brings it down and really takes away that oversaturated look. So if you like that, the more natural look, the 5T might be the better phone for you. But I think overall, the 5T doesn't have a better display. It's a little bit less sharp, especially when you get close to the panel. Now, you're not going to see it here on camera, but in person, if you looked at both of these in a dark room at night, you're going to think that the S8 has just a better overall brightness, a better overall display on the whole. But the 5T is really close. So I wouldn't make this your only deciding factor is display. But if you do want a very lively, popping display, you want the S8. If you want a display that looks a little more natural, you want the 5T here. Okay, so let's talk about software between the two. Now, first of all, the S8 is a lot older than the 5T when it comes to its launch date. The 5T just launched around November. This came out around March of last year, so it has older software. It has the Nougat-based software. You know, some variants already are starting to get the betas of 8.0. I still haven't received it here in the US, so I can only speak from a Nougat perspective right now, but I'm pretty sure 8.0 is not bringing too much difference in terms of your real world, every day-to-day use on the phone, except for maybe some stability improvements. Now, the 5T gives you 7.1.1 out of the box, but it's really not Android here in this experience that matters, like the Nougat experience. What really matters here is the TouchWiz versus the Oxygen OS. That's what you're going to see a little bit more when you use these two devices. And the first thing I want to say is that in terms of speed and fluidity, you're going 5T all day. Go with the 5T if you care more about speed and fluidity. Now, if you care about feature set, like compare it to like this. This is a really fast car that doesn't have all the features. This is a maybe slightly slower car, but it has way more features. It's way more luxurious than this car. So if you want to do a car analogy, that would be a perfect analogy for this. But going into settings, you're just going to be learning about stuff day after day with the S8. You're going to have this phone for like 3 to 6 months, maybe even a year, and still be finding out stuff you didn't even know your phone can do. Now, the 5T is basically the person who used to root phones, who used to hack into their Android, and really wants all those little tweaks and customizations that really makes it their own. I think this is a more like vanilla style feel to it that really the Android purists will really love. So if you don't know what that means, it just basically means you got a blank slate of Android. You go and put launchers, you go do all this stuff right here with status bar. You can change a little battery icon, stuff like that, network speed, just little things. The theming of the color, you got a dark mode here in the 5T, but you do have a dark mode on the S8 Plus. You just have to find a theme that will darken out the entire display. So they're pretty closely matched when it comes to feature set, but there's just more features, which makes it a little bit more luxurious in terms of the feature set on the S8 Plus. But the 5T is smoother on the day-to-day. So it's a really tough one, but I think for the long term and what most people are going to do on their day-to-day experience, I think that the 5T will be a more enjoyable experience. But I think that if you're really into having a lot of features and you want your phone to do everything in one package, you might want to get the S8 Plus in that regard. So everything in one package, or reliable day-to-day experience, so you just want the smartphone to work and do what you want it to do, get the 5T. So that's a decision there on software. Also, I want to mention quickly that in terms of updates, I do find that OnePlus does push out updates much quicker than Samsung. So if you care about getting your phone updated, the OnePlus community is a lot more active than the Samsung community when it comes to getting them updates to your phone. So keep that in mind as well. Now, in terms of software performance, in terms of how fast these phones actually are when you use them on the day-to-day, they're both very fast phones. I just think that the 5T has just a little bit more slick animations. So there's just little stutters on the S8 that just get annoying from time to time, and it makes you feel like this was really an $800 phone. But the other stuff really reminds you that it is. You know, it's got a beautiful design, beautiful cameras on board. We'll talk more about those later. But the software performance is pretty close, but the OnePlus 5T just gets the edge for being just a little bit slicker in its animations than the S8 Plus. So you don't see it too much here, but trust me, day to day, the 5T is a little bit slicker and overall lends to a little bit more enjoyable performance when it comes to just opening applications, just watching videos, going through RAM management. I think I did a full comparison between these two, or a speed test if you want to go check that out as well. Link down below. So I want to talk about some extra features that the S8 offers that you don't get with the 5T. So you're going to get iris scanning and facial recognition. Well, iris scanning here on the S8 Plus. You're going to get Samsung Pay. You get Android Pay here, which I don't think is quite as good as Samsung Pay. It does use NFC. You do have MST technology in here. Basically means that it mimics a card reader wherever you go. Just place the phone down. It will think it's a card reader and act as an actual virtual card. So this one is the best when it comes to making mobile payments. Got to keep that in mind. Heart rate sensor. If you're into health, you might use that a lot, checking your heart rate, things like that. On here, you don't get that. But you do get a better placement of the fingerprint scanner for the 5T, giving that a better extra feature. Over here on the S8 Plus, you do get this really awkward location, which will be rectified in the future versions. Bixby is on board here, which is an extra feature you won't get on the OnePlus 5T. And Bixby is pretty decent. It's getting better. It learns as you go, and it starts to learn what you want and stuff like that. It gets smarter as you use it. So Bixby is a pretty nice feature that's extra here for the S8. And you do have always on display for the S8. You're going to see it come on in just a second. And there it is, always on display. You don't see that here for the 5T. You do have the ability to put the clocks wherever you want on this display. So it's really a pretty awesome, extra feature set you're going to get in the S8 Plus. Now the 5T also has wake up display or ambient display, which is not quite the same as the always on display because you have to lift it up to see it. The always on display always stays on, and it also does have the ability to have a lot more customization. So that makes it just a little bit better than this display here for the 5T, but you still have a similar feature there. Now, the face unlock on the 5T just absolutely crushes the S8 when it comes to speed. I'm gonna try to do it here on camera. Give me a second. You can see just super quick. One more time. Very fast. It's just an amazing face unlock. Again, that lends to its faster performance and everyday use, just a little bit faster, but it's not super secure. Iris scanning is much more secure than this 5T's face unlock. Okay, so let's talk about the battery life on both of these devices. Both have pretty large batteries, and let me tell you, both are very good on battery life. I think that the S8 is definitely a little bit worse than the 5T. The 5T is just very efficient when it comes to its battery life. So even though it's a slightly smaller cell, I find the 5T to last longer than the S8 Plus. Now the S8 Plus is close, but no cigar when it comes to these two. It's not too much different though. Like if you were to take both of these out, you probably would get maybe an hour or two more on the 5T. It's not going to be life-changing or anything like that. But if you want the best battery life between these two, get the 5T. It also does have dash charging, which is faster than the fast charging on the S8, but that's pretty much a wash because you don't have the ability to have wireless charging here for the 5T because it's an aluminum back, whereas you can wireless charge here on the S8 Plus. So the S8 Plus, when it comes to battery life and the 5T, I think slight edge to the 5T. But again, if you want wireless charging, the S8 Plus. Okay, so talking about storage between the both of them, they both have 64 gigabytes on board. If you go with the little more premium version of the 5T, you will get 128 gigs. But the 5T has one critical flaw. It doesn't take micro SD card, whereas the SA Plus does. And that could be a huge benefit to having an SA Plus if you are using your phone, taking videos, and then you take your videos up to a computer and, you know, maybe make a YouTube video, maybe make some Instagram videos, maybe make some Facebook videos, whatever you're doing with your phone when it comes to the creation process. It's going to be a little bit more efficient for the SA Plus because you have that expandable storage. You can put fast SD cards in there and just really transfer stuff like a breeze, no matter if you're on a Mac or a Windows, because they can read SD cards no matter what type of SD card it is. Now, on the 5T, you're going to have to plug this in, go through an Android application if you're on Mac, for example, or, you know, install the drivers on your Windows to get your files over. So this is definitely not my favorite feature of the 5T, but you can use Google Photos on both of these. They are Android devices. You could pretty much use Google Photos on any device, but that will make up for it if you don't want to use the, you know, USB-C cord to transfer. It's not that big of a deal, but I still think this is the phone for people who want to do a lot of, you know, video work or photo work, because you're going to be just using that SD card that comes with the phone. Also, I want to mention that there's no waterproofing on the 5T, where you do get IP68 on the SA Plus. You could literally drop the SA Plus in a 5-foot pool and it could hit the bottom and it probably will still be alive when you go down there and get it. So this is a pretty awesome phone when it comes to that. You can take this in the shower, no problem. I don't recommend taking electronics in the shower, but I'm just saying, if you do, you will be good when it comes to it not dying on you. So don't do that at home. But if you're thinking about texting somebody in the shower, you should be fine. So I've yet to compare these in a full comparison. I will consider doing this on the channel if you guys want to see a comparison, video comparison or photo comparison between the Pixel, or not the Pixel, the OnePlus 5T and the SA Plus. But the 5T is a camera that really shocked me with how good it is for this price point. Now, we all know the S8 has one of the best cameras of the year on a smartphone, but I was pleasantly surprised with the, did I say presently, like I was getting a present? Pleasantly surprised with the 5T's camera. It's pretty darn good. Now, you do get a lot of effects with the Samsung. Samsung pictures, though, tend to be a little bit soft for me. I do like the pictures that are produced on the iPhone series, but they're definitely vibrant. They're definitely a little soft. If you don't like ultra detail, you don't want your pimples showing and all things like that, you're going to be good with the SA. You're really going to like it. You also got yourself these little filters. You can go pro mode and stuff like that. But on the whole, the Samsung pictures still lack a little bit of detail. The ones on the, you know, OnePlus 5T are pretty much similar to the SA Plus. So both of these cameras are pretty close. I think if I had to choose one between these two, I probably would go with the SA Plus though, because I think it's slightly better than the one on the 5T, and the video is definitely better on the SA Plus in my experience. But I'm not just going to talk. Why don't you take a look at a couple of these samples right here? So what about that audio performance on the SA Plus and the 5T? So let's have a listen right here. So let's go to my channel here on the OnePlus 5T as well. And we're gonna have a listen on both of these guys to see how their speakers sound. So you can see just a slightly bigger screen too on the S8, but let's go into both videos. So you can see it's a pretty loud speaker, easily covered up. Anytime you have a speaker down there, it's easily covered up. Let's go ahead and open up the 5T and see what happens here. So it definitely sounds like it's not as loud on the 5T, but it doesn't sound as tinny when it is at the high peak. So on the highs, you can see you can still really cover it up though. On the highs, the S8 definitely starts to sound a little tinny when you get on the highest end of the volume. but on the 5T, it doesn't get as loud, but it still sounds very clear all the way through its volume. So you got to decide on that point right there. Now, in terms of the speaker phones themselves, being on the bottom, not having front firing speakers is pretty much annoying because a lot of phones have that around these price points. But that's something you have to accept if you want to buy one of these two. Now, they both have headphone jacks, so they're equal on that front. Okay, so what about call quality between both of these devices? Now, I tend to prefer the Samsung device when it comes to call quality. I find the reception and the clarity of the voice that comes out of this earpiece to be better than that on the 5T. Now, the 5T, don't get me wrong, is not bad, but I do like the ability to just swipe over and call people in TouchWiz. Can't do that on the 5T. And I think the dialer is just a little bit bigger here for the Samsung. The way it's laid out is just a better experience when it comes to calling. So I would choose the S8 Plus. If you care a lot about call quality, you might want to get the S8 Plus. It also comes with a nice pair of AKG headphones in the box, where you don't get headphones in the box of the 5T that do have a microphone built in, so you don't have to buy any extra stuff to start talking on headphones. Now, both of these do support split screen. However, on the S8, you do get yourself the Edge panel, which is a thing that you can't do on the 5T. But let's get to the conclusion here. I think we talked about everything that really matters between both of these phones. Which one is the better phone after all? Well, you know, phones are really all great this year and last year. These came out of 2017, but they're still pretty fresh. You know, it really comes down to your own personal preference, but I know you came to this video for an answer. And if I was to choose one of these phones for my money, I probably would take the OnePlus 5T, just because the S8 over time starts to feel a little bit slower. It definitely doesn't feel as slick and fast as the 5T. It's significantly more money, and it doesn't offer that much more than the 5T. So for my money, in terms from a value standpoint, I would choose the 5T. Now, if I cared only about design, so think about yourself, like if you only care about design and you want to have one of the sexiest looking phones, you don't care about a few little glitches here and there, and you like all this extra stuff on top, get the S8 Plus. That's going to be your phone right there. But I think just from a pure value standpoint, the 5T is the way to go here between these two. But anyway, that's it here between the S8 Plus versus the OnePlus 5T full comparison. If you guys found this video helpful, enjoyable, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.